Now I'd like to welcome the final speaker of the set and the final speaker of the day. She's a Penn State senior, double majoring in science and psychology, and she's also the executive director of the Association of Big Ten Students. Please welcome Sammy Geisinger.
Hi, everybody. First of all, thank you for sticking it out till the very end. They say they save the best for last, but I'm really nervous, so we'll see how this goes. To start out, these phrases behind me are phrases that are used on an everyday basis, and they're part of the reason why mental illnesses are so stigmatized in our society. But 1 in 5 Americans will actually be diagnosed with a mental illness at some point in their life, whether or not it's in their teenage years or in their adulthood. It happens to a lot of people and a lot more than we recognize in our daily life. I myself have been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, generalized anxiety, as well as major depression. And I'm not telling you this because I want sympathy, and it's not something that I like to really talk about to people because they always are like, oh, I'm so sorry. Is there anything I can do? And it's really just, I like talking about it because it lets people understand that we need to open up this conversation. It's not something that you should shy away from. It's not, if you hear that a friend has schizophrenia, you shouldn't just automatically be afraid to talk to them. And it's something that does happen in our society. But today, mental health is a word that is used so often, but what does mental health mean? A lot of people don't know. And there's a difference between a mental health and a mental illness. So this definition behind me is the definition for mental health. I'll give it a couple of seconds and then I'll flip to the next slide, which has the definition for mental illness. And if you recognize, there's a huge difference between the two. But mental health is talked about all the time on college campuses. And a lot of people on campuses do have a compromised mental health, whether or not you're having a stressful week or you lose a loved one and you get pretty depressed for a while. We associate those times of a compromised mental health with mental illnesses nowadays, and we can't do that because there's a total difference between being so stressed out for an exam or a project or extracurricular activities and actually having an anxiety disorder. And that's something that a lot of people don't recognize, and it's something that a lot of people should recognize. I forgot to flip it, but here is mental illness. I kind of talked about how it is such a stigma growing in our society, and I'm going to talk a little bit about my story and who I am and how, it's messed up, and how I have gotten here. So when I was in high school, I started struggling pretty bad with my borderline personality disorder, and one day my mom pretty much picked me up and brought me to therapy. I had no idea we were going there. She just brought me in, and I ended up really liking it after a while. But again, most of the problems that happen with mental health and mental illnesses is that transition to college, you lose your person at home. So then when I got here, I kind of pretended that all of my issues were gone, they weren't existed anymore. My sophomore year of college, going into that, I fell into the biggest valley I had ever been in. I was really sad. I didn't want to come back to school. I wanted to transfer. A lot of people with mental illnesses go through that. And a lot of people also don't understand that medication is not just something you can start taking and be fine. Like, she's depressed, just medicate her, she's gonna be happy in like a week. It does not work that way. So my story of taking medication, it took about 9 months to actually find the right dosage and the right kind of medication and exactly what I needed. They tell you all the time, like, oh, you're gonna take this medicine. It might increase your suicidal thoughts, but it'll help you. And that happens to a lot of people. It takes a while to figure it out. I got so sick at one point that I laid in bed for like a week because every lymph node on my body was swollen because I had an allergic reaction to it. And obviously, I don't take that one anymore. So these statistics behind me are some of the alarming things that go on with mental health. Yet, for some reason, there's such a stigma against it in our society. And I would bet every single person in this room thinks that Abraham Lincoln and Oprah Winfrey and Jim Carrey, who's my favorite actor, are successful people who have done such great things in life, but did you know that they all have mental illnesses, pretty severe mental illnesses as well? It's those kinds of things that if we think about people as being successful and then learn that they have a mental illness, do we look down upon them? I don't. I think that they're even stronger than they were before, but sometimes people do, and that's something that we really need to move past as a society. And one of the worst things about stigma is that it causes people to self-stigmatize. So if I am constantly hearing about people talk about mental illness in a negative way, saying that, oh, they're difficult. Oh, she's so needy. She's crazy. I mean, first of all, we're all a little crazy. We just need to learn how to accept it. Second of all, it makes the person even more challenging to go and get that help that they need. So if I am down on myself, I don't think I'm ever going to get better, I'm never going to go to therapy. And that's why only 41% of people who need to get help do it. And it makes me really upset when I hear that number, because if I did not go and get the help that I needed, I might not be here today. And I have a lot of friends who might not be here today. And it's because we need to talk about it more. We need to be open with it. If you wait longer, if you wait 5 years, if you've been depressed for 5 years, when you actually go and get that help, it's probably not going to be as successful as it would have been if you went the day that you started developing it. And that's one of the big issues, is that we might recognize, oh, she's starting to get sad, she doesn't really come out anymore, I haven't seen her for a while, has anyone talked to Sammy? Oh, okay, well, she'll get better, it's fine. If you see those things in your friends, you have to reach out, because you could be that person that makes them go and get the help that they need. This is funny to me, the mental health epidemic. If you read any articles like on New York Times, the Odyssey, people are always saying that colleges these days are a breeding ground for mental illness, and they say that we're weak and they're always getting sick and they're all sad. And why is that? Well, by the time that you're 14, about 50% of people who have mental illnesses will have developed them by that point. And basically 90 to 95% are going to have their mental illnesses in full-blown by 24 years old. So between 18 and 24 is that time when you're actually starting to be independent, you're on your own for the first time, and you're also realizing, oh, I might be bipolar, I might have schizophrenia, and it's at this age where you're by yourself, and it gets really hard for people at this time. And that's why we have the resources that we do have, like Keith just talked about, on our campuses. So what are colleges doing to help those students who are on campuses and suffering from mental illnesses? We have the student disability resources. So something that I think we really need to work on here at Penn State is letting our students who go to CAPS know that this resource is available to them. And I actually worked on getting that syllabi statement put on my sophomore year, because I had no idea that I could go to this office and get accommodations in the classroom. Last semester, my fall of senior year, was the first time that I actually had talked to all my professors, because it's not really easy going to them and being like, hey, there might be a day where I really can't come to class, or I'm having a bad day and I can't turn in an assignment. Not all professors are really, that's not something they want to hear, especially when there doesn't look like there's anything wrong with me. So actually making our students aware that there are accommodations they can get. I got a 3.9 last semester, which is so much higher than the rest of my GPAs all throughout college. And it's because I was able to get those accommodations and actually succeed in the classroom. Counseling and psychological services, from the time I was a freshman to now, they have exponentially gotten better for our students. We had the class gift, which made a lot of people recognize this was something that was needy. But also, there are still struggles with it. One of my best friends, a lot of people come to me when they are starting to realize they might be depressed, because they don't know where to go, they don't know where to turn, and I always point them in a direction. You should go to this place, they've helped me, they're wonderful. She went to CAPS and she walked out more upset than she was when she went in, because her experience there made her feel like she wasn't going to be able to get better, and it really makes me upset that those kinds of things have been happening. So what else can we do better besides making CAPS better, making our accommodations better? You saw that first slide. It's called Talking About Mental Illnesses as Adjectives. And I love this one. People do it all the time. My roommate, she's so clean. She's always cleaning. She's so OCD. Does she have OCD? If she does, you probably shouldn't be telling people like that, because that's not very nice. And also, using a mental illness as an adjective makes other people realize, oh, it's not that important. It's just something that she has. Also, our first responders in this country should all be trained on how to respond to a mental breakdown. So if someone was contemplating suicide and a police officer showed up who has never spoken to anyone who is depressed in their life, there's a chance he makes that situation worse and makes the person feel worse. Especially on a college campus, all of our police officers in this area should be trained. And lastly, beg everyone in this room to go home and read about some of the more common mental illnesses like depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder. Read about the symptoms and be aware of them so that if you see a friend starting to drift away and you think something might be wrong, help them, because you're their lifeline and you're the person who might make them better. So if there's anyone in this room, I just want to end like this, who has suffered or is suffering and doesn't know where to go, please reach out to me, and just know that it's okay not to be okay. Thank you.